Hey, hello, and how are you, everybody? Welcome back to Leading the Charge, the podcast, the first episode we've ever done following a Bills loss. Feels weird, Bill. It does. 23-20, the Bills falling to the New England Patriots. They dropped to 4-1. The undefeated thing, the narrative, all the pressure, I guess, that is off their shoulder. But now they're tied for atop the AFC. Technically, I think like the Colts would have the strength of schedule tiebreaker if like the season ended today. But again, 4-1, the record Bills fall to losing by 3 points to Stefon Diggs and the New England Patriots. There's a lot of things we'll get into, Bill, but over the past couple of weeks, you and I, we've said it 100 times, we've been nitpicky on this team because there's been some inconsistencies, some things that this team just hasn't done well. And we kind of said, like, hey, this might catch up to them when they play a team that can adequately go toe-to-toe with them and might be, well coached, couple good playmakers. And would you know it? Look at that. Last night, it all catches up to them. What's your just instant thoughts, takeaways, reactions from last night's loss?
Bummed. It was a lot of the things, like you said, that we've kind of been talking about, like kind of tiptoeing around because you don't want to be like a doomer, especially when like you're undefeated. But the writing was kind of on the wall, the way we've struggled against bad opponents last 2 weeks. I mean, even the Ravens game, like as amazing of a comeback as it was, we were dominated for 3/4 of that game, maybe a little bit more than that. So the holes are definitely there. I feel like they've been there. It's just when you get a win, everything feels really good and nice, and you can kind of brush it off. But like you don't want to lose track of like those are the holes are apparent. They've been there, and like we said last episode, where we're thinking playoffs. Like I'm thinking like what's going to be, how do we win a Super Bowl? And these little things you see throughout, different weeks and the little holes that like maybe you forget about because we win, they're still there and you need to fix them because we want a Super Bowl at the end of the day. Like and we are getting to that point where like this team is aging and the chances are, the window's here and you need to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, and you look around the AFC, right? Like we've talked about this too, is like the Chiefs. They played tonight against the Jaguars, so we'll kind of know, whether they're 2-3 or 3-2. The Ravens dropped to 1-4. Like that, that if you had told, and Lamar Jackson was out yesterday, they're a little banged up, but like tough times in Baltimore. The Chargers haven't looked as good as we thought maybe they were. I still think they're a good team. Like the Colts, that's the other team. It's 4-1 in the AFC right now with the Bills. So there's that path, right? And like we're talking a big picture thing again in going into week 6, but there's that path of what the Bills could do to get home field advantage, the easiest route to ultimately achieving that ultimate goal here. And like those are tough because the thing I want to get into, Bill, with this game, why it's so frustrating is like we've been nitpicky and maybe a little bit more down on some of these wins because we've noticed this. The Bills, I think I saw it at halftime when I was in the media room editing on the broadcast. There was a stat that said the Bills had 2 turnovers and 3 points. It was the most turnovers and least amount of points at halftime that the Bills have had since 2015. So you have to go back a literal decade to find the last time the offense struggled this bad. We've picked apart the defense before, right? And like there's definitely some things in the defense we can definitely look at this game and examine. How did the Bills get out of these last 4 games? And when you see some of these inconsistencies, well, they score 30-plus points in every single game. They couldn't do that tonight against a Patriots team. And then they leave up a point. Josh Allen throws that interception in the red zone. That kills them. The 2 fumbles, the Keon fumble, and then the first one I want to talk about is the jet sweep to Dawson Knox. That was a point where you're just getting way like that. I look back on that now. Hindsight's 2020. What a foreshadowing event. Like if I had known that was going to like set the tempo for how weird this game was, what are we doing getting so cute looking at Dawson Knox on a jet sweep handoff? Keep it like I forget like what baseball or basketball coach told me this one time. It's like the acronym KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Give the ball to James Cook, like just trust your ground game. And I know you're trying to balance James Cook. You don't want to drive him to the ground. It is only week 5 of the season. I can get behind that a little bit, but then just find other, like the jet sweep thing to Dawson Knox is just a head scratcher. And then like Keon, his fumble, can't have that there in that situation. I thought Keon bounced back really well in the later part of the game. I was wondering how he was going to mentally get back into rhythm. I thought later in the game, he obviously had a couple big plays and the touchdown. And then it's weird, but like the MVP, that's a bad interception. And he knows it, but like you just can't have that. That took points off the board. That's a very weird thing. You just don't see a lot from Josh Allen. So 3 turnovers, recipe for disaster. You're not going to win many games in the NFL. And that's what Sean and Josh both said after the game. It's just offensively, I think there's a lot more things you can get into that you're nitpicking this team about than defensively, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, and like that jet sweep is just one of those moments where like everything was clicking on that first drive. Like Josh was kind of throwing it, a little bit downfield. Like it felt like the drive we've been waiting for. I actually had a tweet like typed up right as the jet sweep fumble happened, where I was like, you could just feel in the air tonight that's going to be like a Josh Allen day. And then like that happens. And I luckily I just was about to press send. I just was like, maybe I'll shelf this. But dude, yeah, it was just frustrating. Like you saw, the early issues, the fumbles, getting away from the basics like James Cook. And then just you see Josh kind of go into that hero ball mode. And it's funny because last week we're like complimenting like, oh, you have these 2 dudes who can go hero ball mode and kind of save the day when things are going awry. But this is kind of the flip side too. When you get like a dude who starts forcing it because he's trying to play hero ball and make that big play, like that Shakir, that pick that was to Shakir was just like classic old school Josh, where like double coverage, like don't need it, right? You're in field goal range. Like if it's not there, I think it was only second down too, it was second and long, but like you could easily throw that ball away if no one's open downfield or no one's open anywhere and just live to, another down and try to get it or get the settle for the field goal. It's fine sometimes. Like that field goal would have been huge. And when you look at it in hindsight.
The one thing I talked with Matt about too after the game, and it's always very tough, is like, because I'm assuming, Bill, because for what it's worth, and we'll get into this video that Bill put out this week. So again, another smash hit, very fun. He's up in Boston. I'm assuming you watched it at a Backers bar somewhere there on the broadcast.
Dude,
so
it's actually pretty cool. Have you been to? Did you know there's a Backer bar? Yeah, dude, it's pretty sick. It was kind of sad. It wasn't packed at all. Like there's only like 7 Bills fans, and we became friends with a few of them, but it wasn't as lit as I expected it to be. But it was cool just being right on that. Like you see the field right there. It's pretty sick.
Yeah, what a spot to find like a Bills Backers bar right in the heart of Boston. But like I go and look at looking this game offensively again, and James Cook with 15 carries and 49 yards. That's what I'm looking at the stat sheet right now. Josh Allen, 53 yards in the ground too. So almost like accounting for over 100 yards between the two of them. But like there was moments where you felt like Josh was playing hero ball. He forces one into Khalil. He says he didn't force one. Or no, what did he actually? He said he kind of forced one. And this is the perspective I was getting into, is like, so Matt has the ability to see things from like the bird's eye view from the media room up in the press box. I am on the field. So there are certain, like the Josh Allen thing, I still, until I went back and watched the actual like broadcast clip, I'm not able to see exactly what he's seeing. But yeah, like that was very remnant of like 2018, like 2019, like 2019 Josh, when he was like, you're building the moment and you're like, oh yeah, this guy. And then he like does that and you're like, oh dude, why would you do that there? Like that's demoralizing. That's going to kill all momentum. I asked him another question too, and you can enlighten me too, Bill, on your thoughts on this, because I'm curious as to what you thought. Is it just felt like Josh Allen scrambling is a mixture of a lot of things. It's his God-given ability and his athleticism to just extend plays. It felt like his offensive line was giving him some time. I don't think he necessarily felt nearly as under pressure as we were talking about last week against the Saints. Was there a lack of separation from receivers? Was Josh just missing people? Because that's the other thing, is like, okay, James Cook didn't have a big of a day as we thought. Josh Allen can only do so much. You needed somebody in the receiving game to have a really, really big day. And it just felt like, hold on, Dalton Kincaid, great game.
Yes.
Kincaid with a spectacular game. But like when you needed that wide receiver, the prototypical pure wide receiver, to create separation for Josh down the field, to create any sort of offensive momentum, from my view and my vantage point, it didn't feel like it was there at all.
No, it definitely feels like, and again, like I haven't you know, I don't really watch the all 22s. Like I'm just like the classic fan. So
Right, straight
I don't
TV. I
see
mean,
like the
broadcast
whole
view.
vantage
Yeah,
point, but like from my point of view, it did feel like downfield at least not a lot getting done. And like you had Kincaid having a great day in the intermediate area. Keon had some really good plays in like that same area. I kind of think back to like the 2020, 2021 seasons when you had like an Emmanuel Sanders, a John Brown, even though he was hurt a lot that 2020 season. But you had those dudes, and you have Diggs, obviously, who is more athletic than he is now and was way more of a down, even though, I mean, he put on a show yesterday. But you had those dudes that could get open kind of anywhere. Like you had Cole Beasley underneath, you had Knox underneath, you had, you know, Emmanuel, John Brown, Diggs. Like you kind of were able to pick any section of the field and someone would be open, it felt like back in those days. And I just feel like the last 2 seasons, we just haven't been able to find that like over the top guy who's just, you know, you can trust to get open downfield. You can trust to consistently get open in those longer spots or, you know, and getting away from James. Maybe I know they were like really selling out for the run. So maybe that's part of it, but that's kind of
sure.
Josh's cushion this year has been James and how good he's been. So, I mean, it happens sometimes. Like the issues have been there and we've overcome it. And at the same time, it's like what you said, like the Colts are the only other 4-1 team. The Eagles lost to where there's no undefeated teams. Bad days kind of happen. And honestly, like we look at this team under such a magnifying glass because we're diehard Bills guys. But like when you sit back and watch a lot of NFL games, you kind of realize just like how bad teams look a lot of the time. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
we get so frustrated and nitpicky again, and it's valid, but like no one's looked that great really this year. Like there hasn't been that like world beater that you just can't see anyone beating or us beating.
for
So
sure.
that's the flip side good part, I guess.
Well, and to your point though, like, and we got more things to get to, and which we will, but like the Bills still almost won this game. Like
Right.
if I again, this is another vantage point thing where it's tough for me to see from my angle. It did not look like like pass interference on Khalil Shakir. To other people, I know it was like a hot topic conversation here. If that play happens and all of a sudden like the Bills drive and they're probably taking it under 2 minutes, the drive gets extended. You're not probably giving the ball back to the Patriots. You're going to maybe score a touchdown, kick a field goal there too. Things change late in the game as well. Like they almost still won despite all of this, but despite the fact that they played like a team that we saw back in 2015 before Josh was even here. James Cook had under 50 yards. Dalton Kincaid was your leading wide receiver, and then you had really nothing else from anybody aside from, okay, Khalil Shakir had 6 receptions. That's the thing that, like, I guess is the positive for the Bills is like you still almost did it, which makes me also feel that, okay, when they go against the Patriots again in Foxborough, it'll be a challenge for sure, but I'm not nearly as concerned or stressed about like, oh, the Patriots might really be a thorn. Like, no, I still think the Bills are the best team in this division, despite the loss. I don't think that's going to change, even if they were to drop another game to Foxborough. I said it over to a couple people shooting on this game, dude. It felt like we were having a mid off. Like both teams just at one point were just like, "Hey, personal foul, 15 yards," says the Bills. Patriots are like, "I want some of that action." Oh, you fumbled the ball. Patriots are like, "Give me some of that action, brother.
Yeah.
Let me go hand in hand with you, dude." So. The positives, like Dalton Kincaid, like we've talked about him a couple times, Bill, like continuing to do the things that like make him such a threat in this offense. And obviously a big day for him, really kind of the shining bright star here too. But I go back to the vertical thing and I want to get into is because I'm looking at the stat sheet and there's a couple guys who I think we've got 6 total receivers, including Dawson and Dalton, that have receptions in this game. Joshua Palmer, like a great, like the one deep ball, the 25-ish yard play was awesome. I was like, great.
Yeah.
That's the Josh Palmer, like brought in to do that kind of thing. Poof, then it's gone. And then it's like, what are we doing with this guy? Is this the cure to our answers about having some sort of downfield threat that can stretch the defense and put a little panic into their secondary? Because if Josh Palmer is just going for 2 receptions and 36 yards every game, James Cook, brother, get ready for an 89% workload share, dude. Because I mean, you can't get Khalil Shakir to do some of those things that you need out of like a vertical stretch guy because it's not his strength. Like Curtis Samuel came in, the nice little like motion on the touchdown, like that just is what it is. Keon had a rough first half, came back with a strong second half. You still feel like there's somebody there, and offensively, I think this team is going to struggle. And Bill, we might be having some of these same conversations until they get A, that figured out, or B, trade for somebody at the deadline.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, like Palmer's just, just kind of there. Like I saw somebody post and I can't remember, so I can't give the proper shout out, but saw someone post the stats and said like everybody nibbles. And that's like so on point for like, yeah, like 2 catches, 30 yards. One came on, one catch was like the bulk of that. It's just frustrating. Like you said, like Shakir kind of gives you that Cole Beasley vibe. Like he's that underneath guy. We have that figured out. It's just finding all the other pieces kind of and how it's supposed to work and what the vision really is for the offense. Cause I feel like, even going back from the time Brady took over and you saw Diggs's snap percentages go down to like 50-40%. And then you brought in Amari Cooper. And I know like he might've been over the hill a little bit but he still flashed in a few of those games where when he's also getting about 40-50% of the snaps, you're like,
right.
Like, what are we doing here? Like, what did we bring these guys in for?
You got what you needed out of Amari Cooper last year, for sure. Like you came in with a reasonable expectation. I felt you got it. So I don't know what it is this year. I also think, Bill, too, as we get into the defensive side of the ball, there's other like needs if you want to make a trade at the deadline. But yeah, it's just I look at this offense and like it's cool when everybody eats and it flows beautifully and it can be poetic. But man, when nobody's eating, this offense is starving and they need momentum. Like there's nothing that generates momentum that gets Josh back into rhythm. You could tell there's some frustration and like the interior pressure of the defensive line unit from the New England Patriots. I know we talked a lot about like the pass rush and the pressure he faced against New Orleans. That was one of the best interior pressure units he'll see all season long. Patriots are very good in that aspect. So like there was, I think it was the Keon drive when they made it 2020 after the touchdown. I think Dan Fates tweeted this, so he noticed it too, was that Josh was not coming off like limping or anything like that, but you could tell Josh had been through war. Like he looked like he had just came home from war and was like, I am stumbling back into the front door of my house right now. So like that, it's when you've got to feel like you're putting on the superhero cape and you just got nobody downfield. And that from my perspective, when I'm watching Josh scramble and do all these things, I'm like, where somebody has to be open. And I can hear fans. It's like it's like you go to a Sabres game, they're like, shoot. It's like
throw it.
Yeah, fans are just throw the ball. Khalil's open. And part of me is like, I don't like necessarily always believe somebody like who's a fan watching this game who's had 37 Miller Lights on how they're judging who's open in the route tree. But there are times where, like, if I hear it enough, like I hear like Shakir, and I'm like, is Khalil Shakir open? Like, should you pass him out to it? Like, all the fans started making me like second guess myself about like who's open and where this offense could be. So,
and that's
go ahead. I'm rambling.
One of the frustrating parts is, especially with the guy who's on the other side of the field now, is you see like Josh has the ability and so does Drake May to kind of extend that play and, get out of the pocket, let receivers kind of work their way open if you even covered them in the first part, which I don't know how much we did that yesterday. But you see Diggs like his just like off the cuff little things to get open, like that one huge play on Trey White that got him down to like the, 2-yard line, 3-yard line, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. Like that was a broken play. And you just saw him do an insane move to kind of just put Trey White absolutely in a blender. And that's like, that's kind of where Josh is at his best too, is when things are just going backyard football style. Yep. And you're watching like a receiver who we used to have be able to just kind of like shake off people in those moments and get open for his quarterback who's, getting flushed out of the pocket or seemingly in trouble. And really it just works out to their favor because you have two dudes who are kind of thriving at the same thing. Mm-hmm. And we don't have that. It just seems like I don't see it. Like you see Josh rolling out and he's just stuck. He's extending the play, but
yeah, it's like who's making the play for him. And like
Yeah.
listen, and for Drake May, a second-year quarterback, like it's very similar to like what Diggs provided for Josh Allen. I think it's a great segue to get into our Diggs conversation here. I thought that if the Bills really blew like the brakes off of the Patriots yesterday, Diggs got booed obviously when he first walked in the stadium. So he didn't take any warm-ups not in Jersey. Like I didn't see him on the field. I saw Mac obviously. So Mac was out there. Did not see Stefon Diggs at all. And then when they came out fully uniformed up, but like when you're talking like a little less than an hour before kickoff, Steph walked out to a sea of boos. I get it, Bills fans. I understand why you're frustrated. Guy who like quote wanted out and was traded. But I've been saying all week, like to boo Stefon Diggs is a little like I think it's a little short sighted because I think of what Stefon Diggs and Josh Allen were able to do and the development that Josh Allen got because of Stefon Diggs. I think you're seeing that a little bit with Drake May. And that's so important for a young quarterback. Like you feel like you got to have a wide receiver one, somebody who's going to help you make plays. To your point, which I think was a great talking point, is like somebody who's when the play breaks down and you're kind of like mashing all the buttons together, who's your guy that you can dump a ball off to help keep a drive going, keep your confidence going, and maybe help mitigate an error or risk or something that you're doing there too. And I've been waiting to say this. I couldn't say it on any of our broadcast or television stuff yesterday. I've been saying it a little differently. Stefon Diggs put belt to ass yesterday in the Buffalo Bills. Jesus, Mother Mary and Joseph, dude. Like, I know the Texans game was a big talking point last year, and like funny enough, Bill, did the offense not suck in the Texans game for the Bills too last year too? And then like they sucked again last night. But my God, Stefon Diggs, I have this video on Twitter of if kids would call it aura farming nowadays during the warm-up stretches. I almost said Brother Bill was taunting the other team. Stefon Diggs would come back out of the line and stare down the Bills while they were warming up. And I was like, and I knew it was going to pop off. So I went to my Twitter and got it posted. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, are you just like you're aura farmer? You're trying to find some sort of narrative and storyline, create a little drama, put a little chip on your shoulder. Stefon Diggs, Cardi, if you're listening, my bad. Because that worked, dude. 146 yards. I think he had 10 catches. I mean, he's a tackle from, I think, Cole or Taylor away on that play from Trey White that you were talking about from having a touchdown, too. Stefon Diggs took it personally, and he came in there and was the best player on that field yesterday. That was like 2020 Stefon Diggs, and I think that's why fans just kind of had to eat their own words, is because Diggs gave them no reason to give them any crap.
Dude, it's such a mind, like my mind's in a pretzel with the whole Diggs stuff, because like pre-Bills, I was a huge like Minnesota Vikings. Stefon Diggs was my favorite non-Bill. So they traded for him. I was ecstatic. Obviously, he gave us, 3-4 great seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's just you want like I feel like you said, like you kind of understand the booing, but you kind of don't. And it's like it is like that. Like as a fan, even it's like I like the guy. Like I loved him when he was here. I loved him before he was here. I still have that in me, but I also just get so mad. And part of that is what makes him great, dude, is like really, he forced his way out. He had a team that, targeted him a billion times. He was on a contender every year. He got the big contract through us. Like he got it all, and he forced his way out. He wanted out. They let him out. They traded him to a competing team too. It was the Texans were on the up and up at that point. So it's not like we sent him to, Siberia, NFL Siberia or whatever.
Cleveland.
But dude, the guy, I mean, that's what it's like the Michael Jordan stuff where he would make up storylines about people just to fuel himself. And it's insane to watch kind of, but like, it's why he is so good. Like he literally thinks we screwed him over, or like gave up on it. Like, no, we wanted you, we paid you. But that's what gives him that chip and gives him that, competitive edge. And it's psycho. And I hate that's against us, but like, you kind of respect it. Like I do have that, like, I respect it that he is doing that, and it turns it into what he turns into a huge game. And, but it's annoying as hell, especially for us today. Like that was, oh man, it couldn't be worse, honestly.
Yeah, I mean that was just such a vintage like Diggs performance. Whatever he did for himself to get himself ready for that game, well, I would copy paste that, for the rest of the season if you're Stefon Diggs. And that's a credit to Drake May too, because Drake May is I think the Bills are very pissed about Drake May, because I think they look at the Dolphins and the Jets. They've kind of always figured out the Jets will always jet, right? We've talked about that before. The Dolphins always going to be the little brother to the Bills. Like Tua, I think is a good quarterback, but for some reason he can't ever string it together against the Bills. Drake May is going to be a good quarterback. The play that I go back to, which was ironically enough, Bill, a completion to Stefon Diggs late in the game, the fourth quarter of the game winning drive. Drake May, it's right before the 2-minute warning. Drake May is pressured out of the pocket. Daquan Jones, all he has to do is finish the rep, get his knee down. I thought his knee was down, so they went to the 2-minute warning. Go, oh, they're going to review that. That's fine. No, because then the game resumed and they were out by the 40 or the 50, wherever they were. Drake May makes a Josh Allen / Patrick Mahomes throw, sidearm, falling to his knee, finds an open Stefon Diggs on the sideline. Like that kind of stuff I watch. Like that's the things that we saw Josh do, like these, like the Anthony Barr hurdle, right? Like that's a moment where you're just like, oh, you're different. Drake May is different, and he's going to be a little thorn in the Bills' side for a while. The Patriots, like, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. For me, the Patriots don't have it all together this year, but they're building something. The culture is way different. They have a coach, they have a very good quarterback, and they have pieces. And somebody, I forget who tweeted it, but I thought it kind of validates what I'm saying here. Is like, when the Patriots piece all of this together, the Bills might be in trouble if we're talking about the same kind of things that we've had to continually talk about with this team over the past couple of weeks and even into last year. If we're like talking about this again next year, your time as a division champion might be limited, because that team's coming for you. Drake May is a baller. He had 273 yards, 22 of 30. I think his stat line in the second half, I think he was 13 of 14 or 14 of 15. Either way, he missed one ball. He had one incompletion the entire second half. And obviously, like, he had a guy like Stefon Diggs, like, feed the hot hand. They were cooking. And that's just, it's going to be that, and turning the ball over 3 times, Bill. It's going to be a recipe for disaster if you're the Bills.
Yeah, and it's like, you had that Dolphins surge where, like, they really tried to make it seem like they were the next guy up or coming for the Bills, and you had like the Jets with Rodgers, and it felt so like both of them like felt very gimmicky. Like I was never really like a true threat. Like the Patriots are building like the correct way. Like this is like a young dude. They put little pieces around him. They know they're probably not a finished product right now, but they are setting everything up. So maybe not this year, but you could see that the path is there, and that's scarier than like anything I've seen with the Dolphins or the stuff, whatever the Jets tried to do. So it is nerve wracking because like, I think Drake May is really good too. He's a gamer. It reminds me of when Josh came, like you said. And I remember like, his rookie year, his stats were bad. The team was awful. People would kind of dog on me, and I'm like, something's different. Like I've seen the Trent Edwards, the JP Lossmans, I've seen bad quarterbacks, and I can tell this is different. Like I know the stats aren't there, but like you watch the game and there's something different about what you're seeing compared to the other dudes you were trying to make yourself believe in. And Drake May definitely like, even last year, even though they weren't that good, he had that like Josh Allen moments, and you saw it yesterday too. That throw you were talking about, I remember being like, that's like literally prototypical Josh. And it feels kind of like that 2019-ish season where you kind of come out of nowhere and build up and become a wild card team or whatever it might be. Like it's just, it's a little scary to think of down the road, especially with the way some pieces seem to be aging,
For sure.
Taron doesn't look as like, he was like one of the best tacklers on the team. And I'm just seeing him. I'm seeing it from a lot of people, just like the whiffing and just a step behind. It just, you're hoping it's just, all the pieces aren't there right now. I guess I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, I mean, but to your point though, like, and that's a good segue. We'll just talk into this defense here, because we haven't gotten to talk about that from the Bills. Like in overall, like the more concerns for me about this game were offensively, because you still had a chance to win, and you left points on the board. You probably should have dropped 30 on this team again because you're more than capable of doing that. Greg Rousseau, we talked about him, and I kind of came at him a little bit last week on the podcast. He had a great first drive, a fantastic first drive from Greg Rousseau. And then, poof, he was gone. And then I was like, oh, okay, cool. Where's Greg Rousseau? He didn't come back for a while, it felt like, too. AJ Epinesa with like a one splash play in there. I was like, okay, sick. Joey Bosa, pretty quiet night. No Ed Oliver again. So, like, Daquan Jones, quiet night. Deion Walker wasn't as prevalent tonight. We're talking about the pass rush again. We're talking I thought they did pretty well against the run. So the run defense was a little bit there for the Bills last night. But again, the pass rush, it's tough. And again, they went up at another team with a mobile quarterback. So I know I had a couple people in my mentions that were like, well, they're going against a mobile quarterback. It's tougher. Yeah, for sure. Like, it's hard to bring Josh Allen down, but defenses still find a way to do it. Still got to find a way to bring Drake May down. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Lamar Jackson. Like, still got to go find a way to bring him down. You can absolutely criticize his pass rush here. Matt Milano goes down pec injury. I'm looking at like the defensive groupings. That's my takeaway on the linebacker group is that Matt Milano, this poor guy. We just got to make him in like a robot. Like, we got to just give him all metal parts so it can just be easily fixed like with a screwdriver. The secondary, Bill, is like my biggest concern, and this goes back to our Diggs conversation. I'd have to go back and look at like the receiving share and who Diggs was matched up against. It felt like anytime Stefon Diggs was on Trey White, they went, "Yep, Diggs is getting the ball." And like the pass interference where Trey doesn't get his body turned, really tough day for Trey. And it feels like you're not probably going to see any better from Trey. Like this, it feels like he's reached his ceiling for where he is in his career, which is not really his fault because he wasn't supposed to be in this role. But you were kind of hamstringed with not having Dorian Strong, who's now on IR. Don't have Maxwell Harrison, who's also still on IR. Your backup there is Jamarcus Ingram. And maybe if you need to swing Cam Lewis out in an emergency, but that's where they were, and that's what they're kind of stuck with right now. So it's defensively, my biggest takeaway was that I think the corners. I mean, Christian Bedford had a couple reps, and I'm sure he'd want back. But Trey White, it's another game where I'm like, he might be a liability opposite of Bedford.
And I think it's like Trey looked bad, and it hurts me to say that. Like, I don't like criticizing him.
I get it. Every like Trey, it's Trey. Like Trey's like a great guy around us.
I love him.
Yeah, like but it's tough. And like to your point, like that's the aging argument. Like Taron, people love to like we go back and I'm sorry to cut you off, Bill, but it's Taron's moment. The AFC divisional game against the Ravens in 2020, right? Like those are like the moments you'll be like, man, like that's you play like Ghost Town by Kanye West and like the video flashes back to like that moment of like, and then like for Trey, it's like Trey making like sick plays in like 2019 or like winning games off an interception. Like that's part of the aging argument to your point. It's like, yeah, you can love these guys, but you can also face reality that like they're getting older and they've lost a step.
And I think so much of it just feels like the defense as a whole, right, is just out of whack, not in sync. It seems every level has holes. And so much of McDermott's defense and why he's been able to even get a lot out of, maybe not the most talented dudes has been like that scheme. And as much as I criticize it sometimes, and especially in the playoffs when you have really good quarterbacks who can kind of dissect things correctly and make the correct read over and over, the whole idea really is to keep everything in front of you and not let up big plays. And a huge part of that is tackling. Like you need, what I mean? Like you let them catch the ball 5 yards, whatever, fine, tackle. And we know we're not getting pressure. We're making people have to stay in their zones or guard for longer than they're supposed to. Safeties don't seem to be coming over. Like I know that, I can't remember which play it was, but there's a big play with Diggs on Trey. And first glance, you want to blame Trey because, it seems like it's his guy. But when you're watching, it's like they're in a zone. He's supposed to stay in this area.
Right.
Cole Bishop was very late coming out. Like it's not absolving Trey. I don't think he looked good at it. But there's a culmination of just the parts are not on the same page. And it just scares me because I don't know. I feel like you're banking on a rookie cornerback to solve this, or Michael Hoyt
Right.
and old Larry Ogunjobi to solve this. Obviously, Ed Oliver is the big one where I'm like, yeah, that's gonna help. But
Yes, for sure.
is that enough? When you're, are these dudes like? Hopefully, I hope Max Harrison's a dog and comes back and lights the world on fire. But I'm kind of tempering my expectations, especially if everything's not in sync around a young dude. That's a tough position to put someone in with the expectations that he's probably going to come back to right now because we need we need something.
Right.
So
Max also
it's
injured
frustrating.
too. Yeah, be coming off an
Yeah,
injury as
right.
well, which is like you don't really know. Like the fact that like we aren't getting a clear answer on Maxwell Harrison, like when he's coming off IR, tells me that I think the injury was a little bit more serious than we were led on to believe. I think it was like a little bit of damage control from Brandon Beane and Shaw McDermott. Uh, but at this point too, it's like, well, you're gonna have to ramp up a guy, but you don't want to obviously throw him probably into the fire if you're trying to temper with a knee injury. Try not to ruin the career of your first round cornerback in his first season as an NFL ball player. But yeah, it's a rightful criticism is that the defense didn't look great at times throughout this season. And I thought they had a better game overall yesterday, but there are some things where you're like, this just doesn't feel like maybe one of those Bills defense that have gotten away with making some mistakes because you've gotten a takeaway. You've caused a big play late,
Right.
or you had like somebody who did something that alleviated all these concerns. It'll be something like we'll have to like probably talk about this again. I'm sure multiple times throughout the season, but that's just a reality. That's where they are right now. I think there's another Matt, this is something Beauvais said, so I don't want to take credit for it. So I want to make sure that Beauvais gets some credit for these scenarios. He said there's two guys that he thinks on the defensive side that like they could make trades for. I think with how bad the Bengals are, I think Trey Hendrickson, if they could ever, they got to make the money work. And the money is tough. Got to make it
Please.
work. Trey Hendrickson for like a 4th round pick is starting to become way more
You need.
believable than it would have been at the beginning of the season. That
Yeah.
and then if say we need cornerback help, right? Like going off of this, a 7th round pick to the Miami Dolphins for Rasul Douglas.
Yeah. He
And I
knows
don't
the
hate
system.
it. Yeah.
No.
You know the
Kind of
ceiling.
like
You know
a.
the floor. You know
Yeah.
the
Right.
ceiling with Rasul. And guess
Yeah.
who's going to be pumped? Christian Benford. That boy is
Yeah.
going to be very happy for Rasul. I don't know how much better the team gets with a Rasul Douglas. I can tell you though with Trey Hendrickson, oh yeah, because
That's a
and
big.
this and this is I'll get your thoughts on this too, Bill. It's like I go back to our beginning conversation of okay, look where the Bills are in the AFC, look at where the Ravens are, look where the Chiefs are, the Chargers, and then like the other teams that are coming at you right now in there are the Colts and the Jaguars as of right now. And the Jaguars might be, if they win tonight against Kansas City, they're tied atop the AFC too at 4-1. So like
Crazy.
if there ever was a year, and like I guess you feel this every year, but if there's ever a year where you feel like, man, maybe we should make a move and go all in, because like the Doctor Strange Marvel scenario where he holds up the one to Tony Stark, it's like, this is
Yeah.
it. This is the scenario where you can go and make something happen. It feels like this is a year where you can make a good argument that like, yeah, the Bills should just go all in and go figure something out here, because there's clearly deficiencies on both sides of the ball that need to be addressed that, Bill, get this, as you said, might come back and haunt them when it matters. So it's to be seen. We got a couple more weeks until the trade deadline, but I'd be curious to see how they approach it, because there are definitely holes on both sides of the ball. And I'm curious to know, like, if you're Brandon Beane, where do you feel like your bigger concerns are, offensively or defensively? I think there's arguments to be made for both.
Yeah, I agree. And I've been pounding the table probably for 3 years to sell out and do what you got to do to win a Super Bowl. And I know some people get mad, but like, longevity success is awesome. But like, look at the Rams, right? They sold out hard and they were out of the playoffs for 1 year. Like, and they had an old quarterback. We got a dude who's, still, I mean, getting to 30, but he's still 29. Like,
Yeah.
quarterbacks can play another, he might have another 7, 8 really good years in him. Like, you can sell out for a year. You can try, like, do what you got to do, man. I'm a Cubs fan. We won the World Series 10 years ago almost now, and I still don't get mad at them when they suck. Like, I get mad, but I'm not it's like, oh, we won the World Series. Like it feels good still. Like it lingers. That feeling is really good.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
I'm all in on selling out for a Super Bowl. Like it would one Super Bowl would be everything. So I know there's like the risk, like, yeah, you sell out, you don't win. It sucks. But I still have confidence that like, yeah, maybe you're down for a year. I still think you could probably make a wild card with minimal pieces. And I'm not saying sell everything, but do our first round picks hit that often anyway? Like, would we have missed them the last few years? I don't know. Like,
Right. Yeah. I know. It's an argument to be made. And like, if you're Brandon Bean, like I'll tell you, Bill, from our conversations we've had with Brandon, you've listened to press conferences, like that's not Bean's philosophy. He is not a sellout guy. There's a word I always use to, and it's like what Kevin Adams used to say when I first got to Buffalo and started covering the Sabres too: sustained success. If you're a team or an executive that works for a Terry Pagula owned team, you like sustained success, excuse me. So the sellout thing, I just don't think is going to happen at any point. But again, like it's not even, if Brandon Bean looks at this window and goes, I think this is the year I got to make a push. I don't even know if you don't even have to even call it a sellout. Like you can go make a big aggressive move, some sort of big push where you're not necessarily selling out everything. And the money, I know, is going to be a really tough thing for the Bills to have to navigate, especially if like you go back to like a Trey Hendrickson, for example. But like, if you can find a way where it's like, this is going to create some problems that we're going to have to address. Like, yeah, okay. If you got to do it, do it. Look at 2 off seasons ago when they unloaded everybody on I call it Black Tuesday or whatever it was, Black Monday.
yeah.
Like they just like unloaded, Gabe and Mitch and the employer, like they're just gone, So like it's not like Brandon Bean isn't able or has not done things like this. I'm not convinced that he's going to make an aggressive enough move to realize that like, hey, there's deficiencies. And like if you're banking on everybody getting healthy and Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi off suspension and Max trying to ramp up and play it all this year, like if you're trying to bank on some of those things, I don't know if I'm convinced through 5 games right now, if that's the right route. Yeah. So that is the rest of the get. Bill, unless I want to go in before we wrap up here and talk about your Boston video. But is there any final thoughts on this game that you wanted to get out before we shift and start to wrap things up here?
I would just say, like, I know we just spent 40 minutes, being really down, but like you said, like the league is, there's no world beaters out there right now, it feels like. So the sky's not totally falling. Like we still have Josh, we still have some pieces. Like I'm sure we're going to be really good. It's just, are we going to be Super Bowl? That's like the overlying thing to everything. So like, I don't want to be totally down. Like I still feel good about this team. I don't think it's the end of the world because we lost to the Patriots week 5. Just trying to, figure things out. Like there's fixes to be made.
Yeah, and I get it. Like I had it on, Twitter yesterday too. It's like there's reasons for concerns, Bills fans, but no reason to panic. And if you're panicking at 4-1 right now, I mean, I had the Bills losing to the Ravens and the Patriots. So like, to me, I had them also winning against Atlanta. So like, if you were asking Dom Tibbetts about what his early season prediction was, I had him at 4-2 going into the bye week. They might be 5-1 going into the bye week, and you take
really
that.
good.
Undefeated would have been great, right? But like, you're 5-1 going into the bye week, you'll absolutely take that. So, and again, they had one of the worst offensive performances I've ever seen this team put together. Some of the sloppiest plays. Riddle, the other thing we didn't get to, which is fine because the turnovers are a big thing too. The penalties, again, just
God.
plaguing this team. Like just an obscene amount of penalties that I don't understand why we're having to talk about penalties so much this season with this team, but we are. So a little bit of a lack of discipline, just overall sloppy play, right? Group all this. The way Brother Bill said, "Oh my God!" Like you put all this together, and the Bills only lost by 3 points because they're good. All right,
Yeah.
so you have a good football team, and everything is going to be fine. All right, before we go, Brother Bill video drops on Sunday. Fantastic stuff here. Beantown. Money stuff here too. I think I saw Quentin Tarantino in the background taking notes on how to properly, advance his world of cinematography. I don't know if he's still making movies anymore. He might be at his limit, but you might have taken him out of out of I'm trying to say retirement here, Bill. So
Retirement.
you're up in Boston. Explain to me how this video came to be and the process of it.
So as I think we've mentioned it before in the pod, like how hard it gets sometimes with just doing division opponents over and over and over. And I try to get like a nice board in my iPhone notes of just ideas, and I was just really drawing blanks with the Patriots. Like I've done so many. I think I've done maybe that was my 14th because I think I've done 6 seasons worth and then a playoff matchup. And I just really couldn't think of a lot, honestly, if I'm being honest. So I went to my wife, Nicole, and was just like, hey, would you do like a weekend trip in Boston? Like the first day is going to be, just you following me around while I do absurd stuff. But you can have all day. Like the game's not till 8:00 Sunday. I'll give you all day Sunday. I'll just go around wherever you want. So we had a good trade off. First day was me just roaming around the city in Bills garb, finding things to slap Brandon Beane's face on, finding areas where I can throw beans around and not hopefully get arrested. I do clean up after myself. I want to say that I saw somebody say something to me. I wouldn't just leave, things around like that. So I try to be courteous as I'm trolling. But yeah, I just thought it was funny. Like Beantown, it kind of writes itself. Brandon Beane. Obviously, the game didn't go the way I would have wanted with the whole shtick, but it was funny. I actually had a few scenes that didn't come out the way I wanted, and I was panic stricken that I didn't have a good enough ending. So I woke up really early yesterday morning, and that's when I had my tripod. I didn't make Nicole go with me, but I woke up early, got some Boston cream donuts, went to Harvard, and did that all by myself. I was just kind of probably in the courtyard for like an hour because I was trying to do it in between, people walking by. So I don't think I'm an actual psychopath. Just walking around Harvard. I was covered in chocolate, by the way. They gave me no napkins with the donuts, and my hand, dude, everything. I had chocolate all over me. My hoodies, actually, I had to wash it in the bathtub of my hotel with a bar of soap, and I've been hanging it to dry because there was no piece of me that didn't have chocolate on it. I found out why watching it back. I took the shot where I take my hoodie off next to John Harvard statue.
Yeah.
And my foot was all chocolate. And when I dropped the hoodie, it went directly onto my foot. And I was like, that's why. Because I put it on. I'm like, how did I? I know I'm messy, but it's everywhere. I had chocolate everywhere.
That was one of my favorite things about it too. Is in this video, I'm watching this, and then I saw your tweet about. I think you had tweeted or mentioned you're I was covered in chocolate. By the way, at the it was arguably one of the most prestigious universities known in the world, and there's just Bill in the Zubov's pants, excuse me, just covered in chocolate, just making his video again. That was
good. The fitting way for me to show up at an Ivy League school was some bean sauce on my, the bottom of my hoodie, a shoe just completely covered in chocolate smeared all over every piece of me. That was the way it was meant to be if I ever got to an Ivy League school.
Did Fitz? I saw you tweet at Fitz. Did he ever get back?
He didn't. No, I was hoping he would.
Damn. Well, you could have reach out to the Harvard alum, but that was another good video. I give you credit because, again, it's you have mentioned it before, the Jets, Dolphins, Patriots. You are just scratching for creativity. So you got the Falcons at least, which they haven't played in a couple of years. No. So you'll have some fresh ideas coming in there too. But credit to you, and also credit to Nicole for sacrificing a day of a trip of Boston.
Definitely.
For making that happen too. So marriage is a give and take. Well done, you guys. Well done. Bill, that's about it here. Is there any final words you want to give to the people before we wrap it up here?
Just, disappointed, but the sky's not falling. I'm not totally, doomsday on this team. I still think we got, the guys and a good shot, just figuring out some things, but still staying positive.
Yep. No reason for panic for me. Concerns, yes, no panic. I'll leave everybody here on this Monday with a little, maybe something that makes them feel good. I think the Bills are going to go to Atlanta, so their next game is Monday night. It's an ESPN game, sadly not on WKBW, which is tragic in of itself. But so they're going to go against the Atlanta Falcons Monday night, 7:15. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to curb stomp the Atlanta Falcons and go 5-1 to I think this is the wake up call the team needed. I think all the inconsistencies will kind of built up to this point, but I think they're going to have a little like kick in the butt. And this is going to be the wake up call this team needed heading into the bye week. They're going to have a little bit of an extra day of rest too because of that. Then they know they have the bye week. It's a big game for them. It's not a gimme by any means because no game in the NFL is a gimme, but I really do believe the Bills are going to come in and get business done in Atlanta. Go 5-1 to the bye week. And then again, that's a good place to be if you're the Buffalo Bills because you're going to be among the top in the AFC, among the top in the league. Your control for the 1 seed still somewhat into your hands. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. This has been Leading the Charge, the podcast. For Brother Bill, I'm Dom Tibbetts. We'll talk to you guys next time.